All right, everyone. Welcome. We are having yet another one of our Animator interviews here, and today we are privileged to have Mr. Joel Frenzer. Am I saying that right, Frenzer?
That's correct.
Great.
Hi, everybody in the future.
Say hi to all the future people. So, usually the first thing I ask, have you done any work that you think my students might have seen?
Ah, ah. I worked on
If
a
not, it's
project.
okay, but it's.
Yeah, there is something that comes up with my students
Uh-huh.
that it was on Cartoon Network, and it
Okay.
was a ad for it was the Powerpuff Girl villains and anger management.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's
Like a
part
scare.
live action
Yeah.
with the villains of the Powerpuff Girls, and then it was like Roger Rabbit
Yeah, yeah.
style. Great project. And then we did another one, which was all the characters in the Cartoon Network cafeteria having a food fight.
Oh, I think I
And
remember that one. I don't remember the villain one, but I do remember the food fight one. That would have been like early
that was
aughts.
2001.
Yeah, that seems right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those get played a lot, which is great. So maybe
Sure.
you've seen some of my work. And in those projects, we got to look at the entire catalog of Hanna-Barbera character
Oh, nice.
models,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I got to draw and animate Wonder Woman and Aquaman,
Oh, nice. That's
which
cool.
was kind of a dream come true.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Anyway,
So, usually I kind of start with people, where do you think your love of like cartoons or animation or motion comes from?
I would say from first comics, making
Hmm.
my own comics, and that for me moved into puppetry
Okay.
actually to get into the motion.
Hmm.
And to make a very long story short, I wanted to be able to get the reaction from the audience, and I was always blocked by that. So I
Okay.
had cartoon strip in college newspapers,
Sure.
and I wanted to see if anyone liked it. Couldn't really
Mhm.
sneak up on someone and look over their shoulder, wait for them to
Right.
reaction. I then moved into puppetry, which is taking that comic and putting it live in front of people,
Hmm.
um, very much inspired by Jim Henson.
Sure.
And with that, I was blocked by the audience because we had a set and we were behind a set doing hand puppets and
Right.
going from
Yeah.
there.
Marionette.
And I realized, well, maybe I should try animation
Okay.
because I want to be able to experience what I make with the audience.
Hmm.
And that's what first led into animation.
Okay.
And I've been stuck with it ever since.
Good way to put it. So you're really into sort of like puppetry and such, and then you said you went to college. I think
Yes.
we talked a little bit off. You went to Rhode Island School of Design, correct?
Correct.
Which, for my
Yes.
students, if you don't know, that's a very famous, very popular art school on the East Coast. So you study animation or puppetry or both, or
I was studying animation mainly, but worked with Big Nazo puppets, which, if you haven't ever seen Big Nazo puppets,
okay.
it's crazy. It's like Guar meets
Yeah, yeah. I was about to say, it sounds
Sesame
like a
Street.
Snuffleupagus style puppet that's like huge, right?
Well, it's a full band, and
Okay.
everyone's playing instruments, and they're in puppet costumes, and it's hand puppets to every type of puppet you can imagine, based in Providence. I worked with them while I was at RISD. Um, and so there was kind of a conversation between puppetry and animation
Okay.
the entire time I was there.
Hmm.
So that was a very uh, focused, amazing experiment for me. Um, so yeah, that was the other thing about RISD. Just to go off the cuff here, that was my mentors, Steve Subotnick and Amy Kravitz there, and Yvonne Anderson, who actually started
Mm.
the program. They had a very special way of approaching animation with students,
Okay.
which was to forget about the techniques for a second. Like we learned all,
Sure.
all that stuff,
Right, right.
but it was more about what is it that you do uniquely? What
Mm,
is the thing that you may not know you do uniquely that would sustain you creatively for your life?
sure.
So
I mean, it
they
sounds
were
like
really looking at that.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, it sounds like, if you go to art school, there's always this idea of your style, right? It's kind of like Picasso has a style, Magritte has a style, Jackson Pollock has a style. You look at a Jackson Pollock and like, that's a Jackson Pollock. Even my friend who's an artist, it's like when I see work and I'm like, I just know it's his work because I know his particular style. It could be the
yeah,
subject matter, it could be like the line stroke or whatever, or textures that I know he likes to do or colors. And it's like you get known for that quote unquote style in the way that like maybe like, you can look at like Disney in the 20s versus, Hanna-Barbera in the 60s. It's a very different style versus like 80s, anime inspired Japanese style.
yeah,
90s, you get kind of that blend. I call it like cartoon strip because I felt like the 90s had kind of this blend between like newspaper style and, everything was like very
I
simplified and but still
yeah,
angled at the same time, kind of like a cartoon,
yes,
you know.
pointy.
Yeah. And
Batman
so,
the animated
yeah.
series went from round to pointy.
And then everything in the aughts was very flash or I felt very
Yeah,
flash influenced, very simplified, lots of like circles and like rounded corners and things like that. But yeah, I can hear what they're saying where it's like they're trying to get you to develop your unique style. What
I would
makes
say it was
Joel
more
Frenzer
so
Joel Frenzer and not just like Disney Animator number 12 kind of thing.
right. I would say it was less about style and more about drive. What is the
Okay.
thing that you, outside of visual art,
Hmm.
what do you do as an individual that is unique that
Sure.
you can hone? And we will show you how you can use that to become a lifetime creative person. And
Okay.
so that is a very specific and different approach that I just love. I transferred there. I was ready for a deeper dive. And
Hmm.
that also translates into making unique and innovative work, not
Great.
just to do it for the sake
Sure.
of
Yeah.
doing it, but the kind of like existentially, why are you doing this?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
finding a great uh, charge and motivation within yourself.
Great.
Yeah.
So you learn under Gina, which I have an interview for my students who want to see that interview.
Gina and I never had Gina as a teacher.
Oh,
We
sorry.
were
She was your mentor
Amy Kravitz and Steve
or Amy?
Sabat.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Gina and I were collaborators and worked on several projects together.
Oh, nice. Very
Yeah.
cool. So that's college, and then where do you go kind of post college, or what do you start to do?
Well, at the time,
Hmm.
which was the year 2000, when I graduated, there was a pretty healthy pipeline directly into the animation industry. Based, I would say, less on portfolio and more
Okay.
on short films. So
Okay.
making a short animated film from beginning to end. We collaborated with each other, but it was everyone had their own director, uh, story, content created project. So
Mhm.
independent animated short film. And that was really the portfolio that got me a
Okay.
job. And this was at the Olive Jar Animation Studios in Boston,
Okay.
which no longer exists.
Sure.
Um, but I learned so much there. And it was the first time they were using Flash for big
Sure.
productions. And actually, I first started there. First project, I was there for an entire year as an animator. And in that year, we went from drawing on punch paper
Sure.
and having that be scanned in, having cleanup artists and all of that, to then working in Flash to make Flash a production pipeline way of working.
Sure.
And so I learned so much about it there. So that was the first year.
That
in
you
the
started
studio.
doing digital animation.
Yes. Um, I found this is something I tell my students.
Mm.
I realized after this amazing experience where I was in control of the content and was able to really delve into my own work and mind and being pushed in all these directions creatively, I then was plopped in front of a computer and told what to do.
Okay.
And it was a big wake up call for me.
Mm. Sure.
I had to learn about the studio environment and learn about the team and all of that. Um, and I felt frustrated there.
Sure.
Uh, One thing that was a great learning experience, and this is good for students, is you might want to be an animator in a studio, but there are so many jobs in a studio. So, like storyboard artist, very
Right.
different from animator. And actually, you get
Yeah,
more
I've
creative.
actually interviewed a few people who would probably consider themselves more of a storyboard artist, not an
Yeah.
animator. I don't know if you can know a guy
Well,
named Ray Alma, but he's a very good illustrator. He was a former Mad Magazine, like, you do the cartoons. And he
yeah.
moved into storyboards because that's really where the money was after print media started moving away. But
Yeah.
like, I don't think he would consider himself an animator, but he's worked on plenty of animations as the storyboard artist, and sort of laying out all of the shots and everything that would eventually get animated. And that's a very important role.
Yes. I mean, there are people who are made to be animators, and you're talking about this a little bit before in our pre-show talk. Um, People who have this energy, who are excited, they're animated, they love figuring out the mechanics of what's going on and putting the
Mhm.
acting into it. Um, and I've worked with animators who that is what they want to do. They want to problem solve. They want to problem solve. And
Right.
you want those people on your team for
Sure.
sure. I think I enjoy that part of it when it's my own work. It depends on the project, but when it
Sure, sure.
comes to, someone else is creating it, here are the breakdowns after the storyboard. You are doing from A to B with very specific instructions. You are part of the machine and you
Mm.
are filling in the gaps. That to me was a
Right.
wake up call. Storyboarding, I realized, oh, that's much more creative in a way because you
Sure.
are deciding cinematography based
Right.
off of an idea. And then above that is artistic director slash director or assistant director. So there was a lateral or a hierarchical move through the studio system that was appealing to me. It's like, oh, okay. So you work your way up if you want to
Mm.
be doing more of the um, creative decision making.
Right,
Um,
right.
but laterally to that were background artists and mood board artists,
Right,
uh,
right.
drawing all the props,
Sure.
or at Olive Jar, they actually had a full machine shop where they made ball and socket armatures in house, and
Oh, nice.
it was 2D, 3D, and then computer animation, and that just was great.
Wait,
It's
were
like,
they
oh,
doing like, was it just to do positioning or were they actually like doing stop motion work
full
or?
stop motion.
Okay, they were. Okay, cool. Very cool.
They got known for making a lot of MTV logo animations in the 80s,
Oh, okay,
uh,
cool.
and worked with big clients. And it's a shame that they went bankrupt because they were around for a long time and did a lot to influence commercial animation. Anyway, so that was the 1 year I worked
Mhm.
as a studio animator. Yeah,
But then you decided it was a little too corporate. And to be honest, I've had even I mentioned my friend Arnie, who is kind of how I started all these interviews. He would say to you, I mean, he's done his own work, but he's also worked for literally like Disney and big studios in the 80s. And he's like, you have to decide, do you want to do your own thing? Or do you want to be a cog in the machine? And there's pros and cons to both. Being the
for
cog,
sure.
you will get paid and paid well, for what it is. But you're, like you said, there's very limited freedom. I mean, you're asked to do something, you're beholden to your boss or the client or whoever it is. You can do your own work, but then it's all on you.
Yeah.
You have to come up, you have to set your own, timelines. You got to find a way if you're trying to make it profitable, like whatever it is. And that's a whole other thing. And some people, it sounds great in theory, but when you actually have to do it, it can be very trying, you know.
Yes. Yes. I would say that well, for students starting out now, this is what I tell my students. First of all, make your own animated short film.
Sure.
It can be a minute and a half long, but if you, or a minute even, make something that shows fully what you can do as an animator. And this could be a collaboration. I have a lot more of my students. We set out in a class where everyone's going to make their own animated short film.
Mhm.
And I encourage them to help each other barter roles
Okay.
as like you help me color and I will do voice acting for you, whatever.
Sure, sure.
Um,
Right, right.
and but putting out an animated short film in festivals, it is the best portfolio you could possibly have because there are recruiters that go to festivals. There are people who are parts of bigger companies that are looking for new styles, new
Sure.
innovation, and if they can get a reaction. It's a built-in test audience. They get a
Right.
reaction to something like, wow, everyone's really responding to this. You can talk to them directly at the festival. They might come up to you at the festival.
Right.
And an animated short film shows not only your animation, but it shows your editing, your title and credit design, your sound
Sure.
design. Um, it shows that you can organize something into a film and finish it.
Right.
Um,
It shows drive. I mean, it takes
yeah,
drive to make an animation where essentially, just to be honest, if you're probably not going to make any money, or if you take the money you do make and divide it by the amount of hours, it ends up being clearly a passion, it's a passion project. You don't do it to make money. You do it because you want to do it.
well, I would say you can utilize it for exposure.
Sure, yeah, yeah, for
So,
exposure.
so,
I just
and
mean like the actual piece that goes into the festival, But yeah,
yeah, animated short as a career is difficult because you're not, well, you can actually sell your work and license it. Moreover, artists have used it to get funding for other projects.
right.
And if you hustle, you can have a full-time career as a person who makes animated short films. But it is a lot of hustle and business
Sure.
to get that consistently to happen each year.
Sure, yeah. So you were mentioning, how much it's important for students to, make their own work. So after you do the year of working for Olive Jar, what do you start doing stuff on your own? You start your own studio or do your own sort of
Yeah,
alternative pipeline or alternative, I don't know what the correct word would be, but like alternative
revenue
method of,
stream.
of animating and making a living out of
Uh,
that?
so I was asked to speak at a grade school
Okay.
and to a combined fifth and sixth grade class about animation. And I came in and I showed them some stuff. And I met this teacher there who had already been doing animation with her kids in the
Hmm.
classroom for years.
Hmm.
And we had this great rapport. And afterwards, she asked me, would you like to come back sometime and do a project with the kids? I said,
Sure.
yeah. Um, it turned into a 3 year long project
Okay.
where I got to work with all the kids helping them to make an animated film of their social studies units for the
Okay.
year.
Cute.
And it was the opposite of what I felt at Olive Jar as an
Oh,
animator.
great.
This was all of my skills were being fully utilized.
Sure.
And I was being asked to direct, but then also work with the kids with voice acting and get them to
Hmm.
really understand their story and animation and design a process where everyone can be involved and do equal work. And it was so fun. It was
Mm.
just night and day. It's like, this is what I feel like I should be doing. I had been a TA at RISD for many
Mm.
classes. And um, the importance of festivals. I went to the Ottawa International Animation Festival. I don't know if you've ever been to that. Highly recommend going and bringing students too, because it's mainly students who go to this. It's every year in September. And I spoke to one of my heroes of
Mm.
animation, Wendy Tilby.
Okay.
Wendy Tilby and Amanda Forbes have been making films at the National Film Board of Canada for
Oh,
years
nice. Yeah.
and have been nominated for an Oscar 4 times and
Wow.
have never won. But this was the film. Oh my God, why am I blanking out right now? When the Day Breaks by Wendy
Okay.
Tilby in the year 2000, and it was a huge influential film for me. She was
Okay.
teaching at Harvard
Mm.
and met her at the Ottawa Animation Festival, and I was in Boston at
Okay.
the time, and didn't think I would be able to even speak to her,
Mm.
but we had a conversation, and then months later, back in Boston, we were at a film screening, and she said, "Oh, hey, Joel, how's it going?" I was like, "Do you remember me?" Um, she said, I'm teaching at Harvard, but I'm about to leave, and they're looking for TAs for
Sure.
the next professor who comes in. Would you be interested? I'm like, how is this even happening? Yes. She's
Sure.
like,
That sounds
let me
great.
get your email and I'll follow up. So this was all happening while I was at the studio teaching the kids, and the next person who came in was Steve Subotnick, my
Mm.
mentor, and I was hired to be a TA at Harvard. Now, I
Oh,
didn't even know
nice.
what that was.
Sure. Yeah.
Full-time job as the teaching assistant with benefits to work
Sure.
with the main professor to teach all the animation classes. So that's what happened after the studio life, is I went into teaching, and that allowed me to keep working on my own projects.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like, part of the benefit, especially if you work at a place like Tufts, which you do, or RISD, is like a
Yeah,
lot of them are animators, and through a process of like grants and such, it's like, and as part of, if you're a full-time professor, part of it is to do your own work as part of the expectation of being a
yeah,
professor. You get
yeah,
to, do your own stuff. Obviously, there's work behind it and there's a lot of justification of like what you're doing, but it's different than say like a corporate one where it's like, we are doing X, Y to make X amount of money. It's more
yes,
like you
yes.
can sort of, I mean, I'm not going to say like there isn't expectations, but it's like a different set of expectations, not necessarily a capitalist corporate one per se. And it can be a
Right.
little bit more expressive and, that kind of thing. So,
So that was my path. But other friends of mine um, became freelance animators and
mm,
did really well. And that is a legitimate path to go down, um, where you are, because you're freelance, a lot of times you're being asked to either be an animator, sometimes you're asked to storyboard.
sure.
I have friends who moved up the ranks and became directors. And so now you're in another category of like directors for hire.
Right.
Um, and it is yeah, a third path. Freelance. Another path I found was being part of an institution, like a school, teaching.
Mm,
Another one is working for a company.
sure.
My students have worked at Disney and Titmouse and Cartoon Network, um, and they've all had really great experiences with all that, and also moving up,
Sure.
getting to be like storyboard artists or assistant directors and things like that. Um, so yeah, that was what happened after my undergrad.
Great. And so it sounds like you've been sort of teaching ever since, right? And kind of doing your own
Yeah,
projects
I
when time is
I
available, kind of thing.
yep. I have been making animated films and other things too, getting back into puppetry. But one
Hmm.
thing that I did with my friend Alan Foreman we started in 2007 is a
Hmm.
podcast about animation.
Oh, nice. Very
And
cool.
we were really interested in the new form of podcasts and what this whole new
Right.
media
Sure.
was. And so we started one early on, and that was great. That was a way to connect to people in the industry and have this new platform for our own personal expression.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Supposed to be entertaining.
Sure. Do
Um,
you still do it,
yeah,
or do you?
no,
Oh,
we
okay.
did.
Ran
It
its course.
ended well. It had a yes, it ran its course, but it had a nice. It led to something that is still happening to this day. So we ended that one, I think, in 2014, maybe. We did about 40 episodes, and we part of that was we were asked to host the Ottawa International Animation Festival. Um, because they thought that somehow we were funny and that might be a nice break from other things. I don't know. So we started hosting that, and Alan went to the West Coast and was doing projects. I stay on the East Coast. So I then started hosting it solo. So now I'm co-hosting with the director of the festival
Oh,
all these.
nice.
But it does go back to there's a line of performance through all of this
Sure.
from undergrad to now. And that was kind of what I was alluding to earlier, the what my mentors drew out of me at RISD, what they do with other
Mhm.
people, is really pushing me to perform more, just
Right.
like as the backbone to everything else.
Sure. No, yeah, I think we could all kind of see that connection there.
Yeah,
Um, I wanted to kind of to touch on for my students here. So you've done sort of, you did both kind of, you worked for Olive Jar, and then you kind of did your own work. Can you talk maybe about what the differences are, or what for you, what
sure.
the different experiences were like, so that my students can kind of compare and contrast
Yeah,
from someone who did both?
sure. Being financially supported through teaching allowed me to really explore things that I wouldn't be
Mhm.
able to do in the studio.
Sure.
Some studios give their employees a 3 month residency where they can work on a short animated film and kind of exercise all that.
Hmm.
Um, I really took this to heart. This was a chance to explore what I could do. So I started making web series
Okay.
as a way to have an initial idea, but not have to fully commit. It's kind of
Right.
it was a workaround in a way. Um, and I started making things that could be serial. That was wonderful because it allowed me to have something that was potentially profitable, putting it
Mhm.
online,
Sure.
um, and to grow an audience. Um, the other, going back to your question, what one thing, the difference between maybe the studio and independent that I have taken to heart is because my work doesn't have to make me money, because animation doesn't have to make me money.
Sure.
I feel this responsibility to really responsibility. I can be innovative. I can spend my time making something that may not work,
Right.
but I can be very experimental in that. When you're in a studio, and my friends have dealt with every role in there, you are beholden to the project,
Sure.
and sometimes that can be great, and sometimes that can be frustrating. Um,
Right.
so I found this freedom, but it is also then all on me to keep the work going. I have to develop a practice,
Mhm.
and I really learned the importance of that to keep things consistent day to day. So you don't have a producer telling you, this week you have to get these shots done. It's you
Right.
coming up with your own schedule to say, I'm going to get this work done.
Right.
You have to be ready for that too.
Sure. Yeah, it's about self-discipline,
Yeah.
self-preparedness. Great. So here's a question I always kind of give to the people I interview. Where do you, and you can answer this however you want to answer it. Some people kind of take this from more of like a literal, like the animation industry, and some people kind of talk about it more from a, artistic, expressive kind of point of view. Where do you see animation going in the next 15, 20 years?
With, with the onslaught of AI that everyone
Hmm.
talks about,
Sure.
and talking with my students about this, my
Mhm.
students hate AI in terms
Sure.
of animation AI. They do not want the shortcut. Um, I my hope is that AI for like producing animated films becomes kind of a trend or fad in a way that even like CGI in its early days, that was like the warning of, oh no, hand-drawn animation is doomed.
Right.
Stop motion is doomed. Everything has survived
Sure.
because I think humans like seeing handmade things from other humans or hand drawn, um, and uh, not this shortcut. I've talked to a few students who are doing freelance work,
Mhm.
and they were asked by the director 80% do 80% with AI, and then the extra 20% is correcting the AI.
Mhm.
That's kind of a new model right
Right.
now,
Okay.
and I think I hope
How would you
in
correct it though without the raw files though? Unless you're gonna
well,
like try to take it into like After Effects or something.
that's what they're saying.
Okay.
Yeah, like they can put in a prompt, have it create something. You can go back
Okay.
in frame by frame and fix it,
Oh,
change
see,
things,
like then it's like, okay, well, how much time are you saving if you have to like
right?
literally go over every frame and like
Well,
make
that's
modifications? Like,
also going to the time aspect. I think you're right. It's not going to save any time because when I talked to a client recently where they wanted to use AI, and I said, right now, you and I can talk and troubleshoot everything and come up with a plan that's going to get you
right,
closer to what you're envisioning. Right now, in 30 minutes, we can work it out. AI, you might type in a prompt, but it looks like crap. And so you're like,
right.
okay, we have to keep typing in prompts, and now we have to get someone, hire someone to fix it. And now it's not exactly what we wanted. So there's a very natural way of producing something with humans
Sure.
that I think right now it's not working with AI. As it gets better and better, maybe. But
Yeah, I mean the way I kind of look at AI is, and I don't keep necessarily up on the book industry, but it's like as far as I know, there is no outside of like maybe some morbid curiosity about how it would write it. There is no like book in the New York Times bestseller that is entirely written by AI. And that tells me that, like, yes, you can, I mean, and writing text is literally the easiest thing for AI to do. But because it's not really has intelligence, it writes a story. I call it sort of it's like the creative version of Uncanny Valley. It's like, it's kind of like what a human would say, but not really. And your brain is
yeah,
like, this is weird. Why is it, you know what I mean? And you're so distracted by the fact that it's weird that and so, like, yeah, there might be, maybe you'll watch some quick AI video on TikTok because you're not paying for it, except for being shown commercials or whatever. But it's like, are you going to pay, however much to go to the movie theater right now, like 15, $20 to go watch this completely AI movie? And my hope is that not most people will be like, this is not good enough for me to spend real money on. And then, of
exactly.
course, when there's no real money, then the industry goes, okay, fine, let's stop doing that because now we're losing money because no one wants to go to our movie.
Yeah,
Like
it
saving money only
already
makes sense if people will pay you to make up for that. So my hope is that it fails, enough people kind of get tired of it, or at least are not willing to spend like real money on it, that it becomes more costly to do it with AI because of less return than, than actually hiring people to do it. The money they save using AI is counteracted by the amount less money that they make because people just literally don't want to watch it and don't want to pay for it, basically.
And also, from an economic standpoint, you could also pitch your work as all human made.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe that has more value as you like in the theater. This was made by humans,
Right.
becomes the way to get people to go to the theater. Um, right now, AI kind of feels like a toy. Like Chat GPT feels like it's funny. Let's type something and see what comes up. Look how bad it is. That it feels cheap, maybe.
Well, but I mean, I think the thing is like it's fun because it's free, right? If every time you had to use ChatGPT, you had to pay $1, you would use it a lot less. Not saying no one would ever use it ever, but it's like, it's fun because literally outside of being advertised to for, you don't have to pay anything. But now it's like,
Yeah.
okay, Warner Brothers made an entire 2 hour, AI movie. Are you going to spend $20 and go watch it at the local theater? I mean, I wouldn't. I
Mm.
don't even know if I would watch it on Netflix for free, or not free because you have to pay for Netflix, but you know what I mean? Like a lower cost point. But it's like, if people aren't going to do it, it's like, as a business, I'm like, well, this isn't saving me money. People don't want to give me money. You know what I mean? Because they
And
literally don't want to watch my thing.
there was a feature AI movie that was made, animation,
Hmm.
and they touted it as the first feature AI movie.
Right.
And it wasn't fully AI because they needed people to come in and
Right.
make
And fix it.
decisions with where do you cut.
Right.
They had to edit it because
Yeah.
otherwise it would make no
It'd
sense.
make no sense. It'd be a bunch of
But
short clips coming
even
on.
that didn't become a huge blockbuster.
Right.
I think it was just like, oh, but it doesn't feel human. I think people want to, for those like a feature film in a theater, you want to invest in escapism. You want to feel something and be moved by something. Uh,
You also want
and
the best of the best. I mean, we live in a
yeah,
world where it's like I can watch so much stuff. I mean, it's not free, but like for $10 a month on Netflix or whatever, there's hundreds of thousands of things you can watch, right? So if you're gonna go to the movie theater and spend $20 and then get popcorn and pay for your wife or what, it's like you want it to be like this is gonna be a great experience. And if it's only
yeah.
like even if it's like a non-AI movie, and it's only like meh, you're like, okay. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but I don't know if I would have do that again. And that's kind of how I feel. If it's AI, but the story is horrible or it doesn't make sense, or like, you're just gonna go just from like literal economics. You're like, I spent all this money and it's fine. I mean, maybe I'd watch it on TV for free, but I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
pay a bunch of money for it, kind of thing.
I think the more insidious use of it might be where it's hidden. So
Sure.
in a budget for a film, you can spend half the amount because AI could do in-betweens, for instance.
Right.
And you're not saying it's an AI movie. You're saying this is a Disney movie and we're
Right.
putting it out. And it was written by humans, edited, all that. But you're
Sure.
using AI shortcuts and therefore not paying as many employees. So that is I think more of where it's going.
Heading. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. It could be an economics thing. If people know that about it, they might boycott
Not
it.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, the only reason studios are doing this is to save money and make more profit. So therefore, if it doesn't make them more profit, if they go back and like look at how much profit they made 5 years ago before they did it, and they look at what they're making now, and the now is less, they're going to go, wait a minute, the whole point of this was to save money and make more profit, and now we're not. So why are we doing this?
And
Like they're not
also,
doing it because they have a love of AI or a love of the technology. Like
right.
they're doing it to save money, and make more profit for the company. Like, but if it's not doing that, then it's like, well, why are we, it's kind of like it becomes like an NFT or some other technology where it's like, yeah, it exists, I guess, but like, why bother, kind of thing.
Right. And also the big AI companies put out the talking point of
Right.
AI is going to be everywhere.
Sure, yeah.
They're generating their own hype.
Right.
And then because everyone's talking about it, they then can put it out everywhere. So I think it could be more of a we take back our own media
Sure.
revolution. I'm ready.
All right. Do you have any, as we kind of finish up here, do
Yeah.
you have any kind of parting advice for my students? You don't have to, by the way.
No,
I think I had
I
one person
do.
who
I
basically
do
was like, I don't
actually.
have any advice.
I
But like,
totally
if you want
do.
to. As a
As
teacher, I
far as
feel like you probably would, but
this question comes up a lot. Um, Make your own animated short film and put it in
Mhm.
festivals. Make an online portfolio. Make a demo reel, and your
Sure.
demo reel could be collaborative. This could be something that is actionable. You can do with your friends over
Sure.
the summer. I actually assign this to my students. Make 10 seconds a week.
Mm.
It can be anything. You can put it in your demo reel. You don't have to do sound. And
Mm.
that 10 seconds a week you can do with friends. One person might do character animation, another person design, the backgrounds, all that. You all can
Mm.
use it for your own demo reel. Just mark what you did. And
Sure.
then the other thing with internships is there's a backdoor approach to internships. Every
Mm.
animation studio will allow you to come and visit, especially if you say you're an animation student and you want to
Sure.
come and see what they're working on. They will give you a tour. And on that tour, be on the lookout for someone that you might want to work with. You might meet
Okay.
someone who's doing backgrounds,
Sure.
animation, whatever. After the tour is over, go to whoever's there and say, "Hey, I want to ask so and so another question." Go and ask that person a question. Be genuinely interested. This can't be like
Right.
a trick. And then ask, "Hey, would it be okay if I came in another time and just watched you for a day, just shadow what you do?"
Sure.
Do that. Build a personal connection.
Yeah,
It's so much harder for someone to say no. And
yeah.
a lot of animators are thirsty for outside human connection.
Sure.
And
What, you mean people
I've
who
seen
sit
this
around
happen
in
to
a room by
students.
themselves all the time? Maybe.
Uh-huh. So this is for actual brick and mortar places where
Sure, yeah.
studios still have people. The other way would be to find out who's on a project, animator, call them, email them as a student,
Sure.
say, "Hey, I know you're working remotely. What's that like? Can I come and interview you about working remotely on animation?"
Sure.
Uh, Something like that. And then say, "Hey, if you ever need help, I'll work
Right.
for free."
Sure, yeah.
But you're starting to build a connection with people in the industry and directly and getting to maybe work on actual things. And
Great.
then also go to animation festivals and talk to people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the underlying core, what you're saying in different ways is network, basically.
Yes.
Whether that's physically networking, like go to the place or go, talk to people online or join various groups where other,
Yeah.
because I can tell you it's like everyone kind of knows someone else. Like, before you and I talked, it's like you knew the other people I interviewed, and like everyone kind of, especially people at a certain level, it's like everyone kind of has heard of most of, so it's like someone knows someone who knows someone,
Yeah.
the whole original idea of social media, right?
It's a
Before it
small
became,
international animation community is actually smaller than you might think
sure,
and very welcoming.
sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time. If students wanted to see any of your work or reach out to
Sure.
you or anything like that, is there some place they could go?
Yes, they can go to my website, which is just my name, joelfrenzer.com.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. This is a great idea. Good luck, everybody.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, keep animating.